Hello, it's the Talking Reds. It's John Gibbons, and today I'm joined by Jonny Milburn. Very slimmed down, Jonny Milburn. Looks like I've been eating your dinner.
John, you're showing everyone the way with the running and everything. So I'm in awe of your stats and your numbers. So yeah, but thank you.
I mean, as ever, my numbers are through the roof. But but looking hot, Jonny. I'm enjoying it.
Thanks, girls.
Boom. But, you know, we're going to be talking about football, and we're going to talk about some red-hot football finances that have just dropped. It's everyone's favourite subject, isn't it?
Well, the Fernando Torres of finance has flown in to try and sort it out.
You know, Johnny, you are like clever in real life and stuff. Like, I think people think we're all idiots who do the Anfield Wrap and stuff like that. But you've got like a good job, and you like, you know, run stuff. So you can help me make sense out of this.
Yeah, well, I will say I'm not a finance expert, but yeah, I am. I think somebody referred to sort of me and Steve Armstrong and a couple of other Anfield Wrap contributors as a bit like Batman and Bruce Wayne. our real jobs aren't getting pissed and annoying people at football matches. So
you'd be surprised.
You can make a living out of it, apparently.
just need a strong personal brand of drunkenness and nudity.
Yeah.
So anyway, Bruce, we're going to go through these. They have just landed, so apologies if we miss anything. But basically, everything looks positive from a business point of view. Overall revenue has increased by 62 million to 364 million. That's an increase of around 20%. If you want to break down where that increase comes from, media, so money we get from TV rights, basically has gone up 30 million. The commercials, so all these mad partners that you see, like Liverpool having a tyre partner and stuff like that.
Lubricant partner.
Exactly. The lubricant partner is a good one. I don't think that's included in this because I think that's recent. But 12 new commercial partnerships were signed in this period. It's actually up to May 31st, 2017, but we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But commercials got up 20 million anyway for all these partnerships, and match day revenue's got up 12 million. That's because this is the first season of the new main stand, so that seems to have gone pretty well. So it's all up, which is good. So that's recorded profits after tax of 39 million compared to 21 million loss last year. I mean, in terms of the positives, I guess first, Jonny, this is, you know, it's growth. It's growth across 3 different areas, and also this is a year where we didn't actually play any European football, so you'd expect next year's accounts to be even rosier.
Yeah, I think the numbers are really hard to take anything from.
Let's have a go, mate.
As sort of a casual observer, because when I walked into the office before, if the news is really good or seemingly really good, you'll have fans who'll say, "Oh, they're making loads of money. They should be spending more on boss players, and we shouldn't be selling boss players." Conversely, if we're not making money, these guys don't know what they're doing, and we should get them out, and we haven't got money to spend on the things that we need. So I think it's an invidious position that these guys are in. I think the other thing is, as John's referred to, they're quite old, these numbers. These are from like 18 months ago, effectively. So you have to try and remember what was going on at the club at that time, and it's very hard also to compare to what our contemporaries are doing, who use a different accounting period, and also maybe have released their numbers at different times. But to be in a situation where the club's no longer making losses, I think people forget that there was a period under FSG where we were losing around 50 to 60 million each season. So now to be making a positive profit and things appear to be okay on the pitch as well. I think the club's in a good place.
Don't worry. The club have reminded us just how far the club have come in their statements. So don't worry about that. They've actually said, you know, from the close to bankruptcy, you know, which is pushing it a little bit, but you know, but fair play to them. There's a few other interesting things in the statement that the club have made. One thing that they've said is that Liverpool have maintained 9th position in the Deloitte Football League, which basically is a nice way of saying we haven't moved up, which is something we discussed about before as well, which is all these things are relative in that your numbers could be going up and it looks healthy, but if all your competitors' numbers are going up and going up more, then you know it becomes just as tricky, if not trickier, to kind of compete with them as well. They do mention a few things to look out for in kind of future figures and just generally the future as well. The training ground, they mention again, that's coming this summer, so that's going to be £50 million investment to bring all the training facilities under one roof, if that's the right word, not literally, a Kirby, which is something that I think most
like
people
a big Toys R Us, everything under one roof. Yeah. That worked out well, didn't it?
Yeah, hopefully this will work out better. They have mentioned again the Anfield Road. They haven't committed to it, but they've said that they're still looking at the economic viability. We continue to work up design, capacity, and economic viability options for the Anfield Road. So nothing solid on there yet, but good that they've mentioned it, and they're not trying to forget about that as well. And they've predicted the big summer in the transfer market as well of their win, don't they? So wait and see. As Jonny says, the results are only up to May of last year, and so in terms of the big transfer window, as Jonny says, that's almost kind of 18 months old. But decent numbers anyway. I'm sure lots of people will have lots to say over the next 24 hours. So something to look out for. I
think the thing I'd really like to see Liverpool trying to climb that money league, because one of the things that we get told fairly regularly is, well, we've only got the 5th most money in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So par is 5th. So you really need us to outperform to do better than that. And I'd really like to understand what the strategy is to get us up that league. Now, there are clubs who are financed structurally, like Manchester City, where they're effectively run by almost a bottomless pit of money, and it may be unrealistic to say we're going to overtake those guys, but what are we doing to try and get ahead of Chelsea? What are we trying to do to get ahead of Arsenal? Those should be realistic ambitions and plans these guys should have, and I think that's the type of progress I'd like to see, rather than all the top 5 clubs moving up by 20%, which I don't know whether that's the case because I've not seen all the other clubs' numbers, but that would be my suspicion. In a rising market, the market's doing really, really well. Liverpool are doing okay in that market too.
Okay, one to look out for. As I say, I'm sure there'll be lots of intelligent analysis of the
much
accounts
more intelligent than that.
over the next 24 hours. So on to footballers, which we know a little bit more about. And Virgil van Dijk has done an interesting interview in the last 24 hours where he's talked about the step up coming into Liverpool and how much more intense it is. He's talked about training every day. He's running more. He's sprinted. He's needed to get fitter and responding to the intensity of playing for Liverpool. And it was an interesting interview, Jonny, because I don't think he's being humble about it. I think he's being honest. And you think of someone like Van Dijk who's come in, scores on his debut, has looked like a Rolls Royce and everyone's pleased. But I guess this shows, A, there's more to come from him, which is really good news. And B, that we do need to remember when these players come from other clubs where tactics are slightly different, expectations are slightly different, and it does take a little while to adjust.
I think expectations is a massive one. So you think about if you play week in, week out for a team like Southampton, with the greatest respect to our cousins on the South Coast who love us so much. Hi guys. If you lose, I don't know, 2 out of every 5 games, or don't win 2 out of every 5 games, it's probably seen as acceptable and par for the course. If Liverpool aren't winning 4 out of 5 games or starting to lose significant numbers, they're calling for the manager's head. They're calling for players to be hung, drawn and quartered. And I think to make the level of performance that Liverpool players aspire to and need to be able to deliver is of a completely different order from most of the rest of the Premier League. And I think that press comes with its own pressure. And Jurgen Klopp's style of football, as we all know, relies on huge reserves of fitness and stamina to keep going till the 94th, 95th, 96th minute. And obviously they don't go 100 miles an hour for the whole 94 minutes, but they need to be able to manage themselves throughout games, to be able to really, really sprint and do all the things they need to do. And I think for that will be a culture change for most players. And I think it's nice to have players come out and be open and honest about that, because I'm hoping we're starting to see some signs of it, that we're moving out of the era of having Premier League footballers who aren't allowed to have an opinion. They're so media trained that they just say, oh yeah, it was all about the team and I'm glad for all those real sort of boring stock phrases that we get in press conferences. We're starting to get to see a little bit more of the personalities, and I think players opening up about their vulnerabilities and some of the challenges they've had makes them much more identifiable, I think, to fans, and you get behind them a little bit more actually when you know they've had a bit of a challenge.
No, definitely. It's all about stock quotes. One of my favourites is always like, player who scored. It's like, I scored today, but the most important thing is the team win. I'd love to play to come out one day and go, yeah, well, we got beat, but so did I scored, so
yeah, they were shy, weren't they? But did you see my goal? Fucking yes, lad!
Get on me. Okay. Yeah, obviously we're hoping Liverpool have a bumper summer this year in terms of transfers, in terms of players of Van Dijk's quality as well. We've started doing gutter shows already, which is our look at the transfers. It's Rob Gutman getting all excited about players who might be coming in. We recorded one yesterday because there's been absolutely loads of links this week actually, so we thought it'd be good to do a show this week. So we did that, we recorded it yesterday. Sam went and filmed a little bit, so we're going to show you a little clip of it now.
But Jurgen says the transfer window doesn't end at the end of January or end of in August. There seems to have been briefings that go Adam, but the one I'll start with, because I'm going to do this sequentially with a certain sort of logic to it. I'm going to go by position and desire in each position. Keeper-wise, Karius has confused the issue, but we were all getting very excited about Alisson in recent weeks.
Yeah.
The club have sort of put information out that they're not 100% convinced that this is a transfer they'll pursue, maybe because it's too expensive, maybe because Roma will put a Salah tax on us, which is a mad concept, and maybe because Karius is, after all, not shit.
That was another thing that was mentioned, wasn't it? That it might just be that we don't want to suddenly have an all but confirmed number one goalkeeper coming in, just as the one that's been in and out of the team and not had a chance, and then looked awful, and then suddenly started to look better, and then it did feel like a couple of days after his first properly good game, the Alisson links got stronger and stronger. So I mean, it makes sense, I suppose, that we'd dampen the flames. I'm always trying to work out how the algorithm works among our how we talk about our signing, us being the club in this case. And I think when we say we're not interested in a player and the window's open, that means we're not interested in a player. If we say we're not interested in a player and the window is shut, I don't think that necessarily means that we're not. So I think some
negotiating.
Yeah, I think that it's more of a negotiating tactic. If the window's well underway and we say, by the way, we're not buying them, then we actually aren't.
Do you think? I mean, the Alisson links have been so very strong, Neil. It's one of those you sense, knowing how Liverpool have operated the last couple of years, that this is very much a live one. Do you think there's a chance that, say, Karius just does keep pushing on, that they would drop Alisson like a stone? Or do you think minds behind the scenes are made up? If he's gettable, we get him.
I think minds behind the scenes may well be broadly made up. I think it's difficult for Karius in that he has to go through a run of making fabulous saves, but actually there's not that many fabulous saves to make. You know what I mean? How does he go and have a 10 out of 10 game, beat when everyone goes, my God, he was brilliant, because we tend to be on top in games, and he may well manage that. I think that broadly, I'd be surprised if this, to me, you can almost, like a book. In his first season, it became very clear. Let's remember, it was the end of February when it became very clear that Jordan Ibe no longer has a future at the club. It's as though there's some sort of decision date where the club go, where Klopp and his team go, and whoever his team is, whether it's his coaching team and his recruitment team, but they go, right, this is what we're doing and this is where we are. And there's like a line that comes. And it was this time last season, for the first time, it began to be leaked that they wanted the 5 names that they wanted, all of whom they've now got, albeit in not as immediately as they would have liked. And this, to me, makes me think that they're pretty certain. The way everything came out, I think they think they'll get those names. And whether or not... What's dead interesting is the names that aren't there. You know what I mean? Like, will they just want a Coutinho replacement? Well, what's that? I think they will have a first and a second choice. I think that, you've looked at the Zielinski turn into Wijnaldum thing in the past. That will be there to a certain extent. But I think that last summer they got the lads they wanted. This summer, I think they'll get the lads that they want, the ones that they're briefing for, and so I think it is sort of decided that Alisson will be coming in to be Liverpool's cat.
Yes, that is our gutter show. As I say, it's our look at the transfer gossip of the time. We do it 2 or 3 times a week during the transfer window, not quite as regularly in the normal season, although if Rob Gutman had his way, we'd be doing it every day. But we will be keeping these ticking over the next few months. So do subscribe to Talk Player. It's £5 a month. The gutter show is just one of the things you get, but obviously you get all the post-match and pre-match build-up and reaction to all these fantastic games of football which are coming up, started with Newcastle on Saturday and Porto in the Champions League on Tuesday. So great time to subscribe to the Anfield Wrap. Sell over, we're going to look at the newspapers, and I've got a fun game for you, Johnny. So last night there was obviously more VAR controversy. So VAR, which is everyone's talking about in the FA Cup, it's being trialled at the moment. People aren't happy with it. So bearing in mind this is to do with the mess last night, I want you to guess the headlines from the newspaper. So the VAR-based puns.
You need Robbo or Mike Neville because they're puntastic.
I was going to say Robbo probably wrote them. But I've got the Mirror, the Star, and the Express. So do you want to guess? Try and have a go.
Well, the problem I've got, right, is I've missed this whole VAR debate because I've not been at a game where VAR has happened, and I've not really watched them on television. So I see it through the medium of Twitter. The overwhelming sentiment is it's shit. I get that.
Well, okay, well that's your theme.
Yeah, okay. So
you're just trying to buy time here, mate.
Yeah. I'm quite nervous. I'm normally quite good at quizzes, and I'm worried about failing dramatically on camera. So my competitive genes kicking in here. So go on. Hit me with it.
Go on, try to have a go at one, or Sam join in if you want. It is. There you go.
Right. Okay.
It's just Varsicle.
Yes.
Big win to Sam. It's just Varsicle is what the Daily Express have gone for. On a similar note, what a farce. That's the Daily Star. What a farce.
Pain in the vase?
Right. No, there's no pain in the vase. It's
VAR crash.
Yay! He's nailed it.
No, I just cheated. I didn't read that. Sorry. Somebody would have caught me on the camera there.
But the Daily Mirror's gone for VAR crash. So that is your puns. As he says, Gareth Roberts would have got those 3 in about 5 seconds, and written 3 or 4 of his own. But it used to be his job. So yeah, it is a little bit of a mess at the moment. People are not necessarily enjoying it, but we'll wait and see on that. We'll wait and see kind of what happens. A couple of other things I just wanted to highlight. We got invited by Liverpool Football Club to the launch of Forever Reds, which was very kind of them yesterday. It's a scheme that's been going for a while, but they're bringing it into the club more as part of the 125-year anniversary. So it's a lot of the former players who are going to be going out more, doing more events in the community and things like that. So they invited us yesterday. James Pearce was there. He's done a double-page spread on it. I haven't yet downloaded the audio, so that's. If you want to compare mine and James's level of professionalism, that's a good kind of example. But so he's wrote up the whole thing. He's got all the quotes. It's great. So yeah, read the echo, and I'll do something on it when I get round to it. But he spoke to Phil Neal afterwards as well, and what he's talked about here, Johnny, is how good our fullbacks are at the moment, and it's good to see them getting a bit of praise, isn't it? The fullbacks and Phil Neal has talked about here being really. He says, I love both Trent and Robertson. They're performing really well. Trent is a young man who's learning all the time. And Robertson's really impressed me, and as I say, it's nice to see them getting a little bit of credit because look, the front 3 get all the headlines nationally, don't they? They're the ones that people are talking about, and rightly so. But recently, those 2 guys, and Robertson in particular, just playing really, really well.
Yeah, I think I've been really impressed with our fullbacks this season, considering it's been a problem position for quite a long time for us. I think it's really nice to hear players like Phil Neal, because bless Phil Neal, he's one of our most decorated, the most decorated.
Yeah. He'll tell you that.
Player. He may mention it in dispatches, but that players of that generation are almost quite intolerant, and almost things were always better then, and things were better then because we won everything back then.
Yeah.
But for them to come out and give praise, I think it's really, really helpful for this team. We all have a tendency to hark back. I can remember Kenny Dalglish always having a brilliant game for Liverpool. I remember him missing a sitter at Goodison in about 87, and it was normal for players to have off days, and we don't seem to be quite willing to tolerate that these days. I think we play FIFA where you can ping a ball 70 yards, it lands on somebody's toe and he can control it. Real life football is really, really hard, and we've got a really, really good team at the moment, and I think if we can be more tolerant and more forgiving of errors, and we can get behind them in the way that the former players are doing, then I think the ceiling's the limit for these players.
And that's a really good point you make there, in that if you're Trent Alexander-Arnold and you're picking up the Echo today and you're seeing that Phil Neal, who's probably our most famous right back of all time, certainly won the most, is saying what a good player you are, it does give you a little bit of a boost, doesn't it, when he's still kind of maybe a bit unsure about himself and still finding his way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, one little story from the Independent before we go I just want to highlight, which is I haven't seen anywhere else, which is Premier League struggles to sell remaining TV deals, which is a little bit story that obviously I think Sky have bought the bulk so far, and there's a bit of talk about what they're going to do in terms of kick-off times and stuff like that, but there was talk of other companies getting involved like Amazon and things like that. Netflix as well, yeah. It looks like they're struggling a little bit to get the money that they were expecting to, which maybe suggests that the football bubble isn't quite bursting, but reduces slightly, but kind of want to watch there. But I just think with these, Johnny, to finish, and that it's all well and good saying you want to split it up and monopolies and stuff like that, but it just feels to me like more and more people that you need to give your money to if you want to watch football.
Well, exactly. The amount of money I pay to Sky alone is fairly exorbitant. I don't have BT other than I get it on my phone with my phone package, so I have to watch those matches on a phone. If I'm then going to have to buy an Amazon Prime subscription and then on top of my Netflix subscription, as well as having a season ticket, as well as wanting to go to away matches, it's becoming a bit ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
More and more difficult to justify. So there must be a limit to some of these things. But we'll see. The market will decide, as Thatcher will tell you.
The market will decide. That's been the Anfield Wrap. Up to Reds. That's been Jonny Milburn. We might not have him back.